Hello everyone, and now welcome to game number 2 between WFZ versus ZDR. WFZ spawning as the red undead here on Terranistan. Gonna go ahead and speed things up just a little bit to get past those first 2 minutes. Didn't think I was that tired in the last cast. Started off strong, but I guess my illness took over me, and yeah, that I apologize there, but hopefully I'll be able to do a little bit better this time around. Just trying to keep it real, just trying to be honest and let you guys know that I know that my last cast wasn't up to snuff for me, but I still wanted to put it out there for you guys so many of you guys who like watching my cast anyways. Let's go ahead and break things down. Blade Master going straight after the Apprentice Wizard here. Gonna be able to take him down pretty quickly, get Gauntlet Ogre Strength +3, and now finish it up against the rest of the creep camps. Interestingly enough, ZDR actually opened up with Critical Strike over Windwalk this time around, as he, I guess, expected that he should be able to clear out these creep camps before the Death Knight even makes his rounds over. Now the Blade Master going to be able to take down this Renegade Wizard pretty quickly. There he goes, picks up Claws of Attack +6, very nice item for himself, and should get to level 2 in just a moment. Those Claws of Attack +6, all of a sudden the critical strikes jump from 54 to 90. You can see how much of a damage bonus that is. As you can see, the Grunt is now going to go ahead and finish that off there. Meanwhile, Death Knight, now on the move across the field, has a Sacrificial Skull as well. And that Sacrificial Skull is very important for a Death Knight and the Undead army if you really want to keep the amount of damage off of that Death Knight early on. The Sacrificial Skull generates Blight, allowing the Death Knight to get 200% additional regeneration on top of his hero regeneration. And that is extremely important here. We'll see if that's going to be used here, as he's going to maybe trying to creep out the mercenary camp and also picking up a Troll Shadow Priest, pulling those units a little bit further back. There's that Blight that I was expecting, and here we go, just a straight on takedown of all these units. The Kobold Taskmaster is not the primary target. I would have thought the Mud Golems and the Kobold Geomancers I thought would have been a much better target. The medium armor makes them much more vulnerable to the melee, normal melee attack, as we can now see another Crypt Fiend making its way over. You can see that the Death Knight is absorbing a bit of damage, but that's still alright for him since he is sitting on that Blight. Blade Master now making its way over, does have Boots of Speed, Circle of Nobility, Claws of Attack +6, so a wide array of items already on that Blade Master, as the Blade Master is going to sneak by. Oh, no stopping on that healing, as the Blade Master is going to get very close to level 3. Alright, back over here you can see that the Death Knight is perhaps expecting the Blade Master to come by, and there is that Blade Master there. Alright, going to steal that experience, get to level 3. But now what's going to be happening to that Death Knight? Death Knight taking a little bit of damage, getting a little bit surrounded, and that's actually going to hurt him a fair bit, as we now see him back on Blight. Alright, Blade Master, Death Knight going toe to toe, so to speak. Blade to Frostmourne, or Blade to... Oh, using the Dust of Appearance in order to get the Nightcrawler. Since that one Murloc did end up Shadow Melding. Alright, Blade Master is off over there. Death Knight sitting at level 2 does have the Potion of Greater Healing, which should be very helpful. Meanwhile, you can see the Blade Master is going straight after the Death Knight. Death Knight now being forced to try and run away. There's a Potion of Greater Healing. There's a Death Coil on the Crypt Fiend, as the Blade Master still cleaning up plenty of items. No Speed Scroll that I see. No Speed Scroll on that Blade Master to try and clean up the rest of the units here, as the Crypt Fiends are now pathing against the Blade Master. Blade Master now getting a little bit tied up there, as the Death Knight should be able to get it off another Death Coil and continue to heal that Crypt Fiend back up fully. Now, this is rather dangerous for a Blade Master to try and sneak in here. You're never quite sure when that Halls of the Dead upgrade will be completed, and all of a sudden you're dealing with a Cold Tower. That Cold Tower really slows down that Blade Master, making him absorb much more damage and make him overestimate his chances in any straight up fight. The Death Knight still off over here. It looks as though yes, going to go ahead and get taken down. There's another Mantle of Intelligence. Very high mana on that Death Knight right now. Meanwhile, the Blade Master going after the Renegade Wizard and going to pick up a Belt of Giant Strength. some very nice items for ZDR's Blade Master already, and you can see that his stats, plus 11 strength at this point. He is given such a large amount of hit points off of that plus 11 strength. It was at 275 hit points extra off of that Blade Master, or for that Blade Master, on a 6 armor unit. That is incredibly difficult to deal with, as now we're looking at the Shadow Hunter joining out and getting in on some of the fun. Death Knight bringing over his army of Crypt Fiends. Shadow Hunter in the backfield here, but this is going to be a horrible creep jack because of the amount of slow on all those units. 1 or 2 low hit point grunts may get taken down. There is a, oh no, are we going to get a death coil? Death coil on a low hit point grunt there. Blade Master now in a little bit of trouble, but he does have mana, so he should be able to get away. Kobold Taskmaster going to be left behind, and this may be another potion of greater healing. What is it? No, potion of invulnerability, just as good pretty much as that Death Knight. Grabbing some strong units, and now that Blade Master, for some reason not attacked, no death coil, nothing there, as the Death Knight now still wandering around. We should be at tier 2. There we are with the Lich now making its way out. That Lich should be able to pick up an Orb of Corruption, and that's the only way you're really going to be able to take down that Blade Master, or even get him into the red. With the backup support of that Shadow Hunter, it is very difficult to take down that Blade Master. But the Blade Master actually sold a bunch of the items. The Blade Master selling many of those items, so perhaps he is going to rely on Spirit Link in order to have high damage mitigation on that Blade Master, as he wanted the additional gold. Let's take a look. He does have a good amount of gold in his bank. Too bad the bank does not collect interest for you, so that may come back to haunt him in a little bit, as the Shadow Hunter now picks up Boots of Quoth the Lost, a very nice item for the Shadow Hunter, but that will most likely get transferred back to the Blade Master in just a little bit. Death Knight now sitting at level 3, gonna go ahead and finish off the rest of this Kobold creep camp. There is that Lich. He is waiting for that Black Citadel. No, he is not. He's just... Nope, it looks like he is going to be waiting for the Black Citadel in order to get that Orb of Corruption, as we're looking at the Blade Master now clearing out and pretty much taking every big item on the map. Very strong showing coming in from ZDR so far. And if WFZ has any sign or really wants to get back into this game, he's going to need those Obsidian statues and those Destroyers to really punish that Blade Master and those grunts. So far, though, I do not see any Raider. Actually, no, there's one Raider there. So it is going to be your typical bestiary. There is that Spirit Lodge there, as the Skeletal Minion now does run down. All right, Raider does get spotted here. Death Knight now seeing that level 4. Raiders getting cut in a little bit of a serious location here, as we get Frost Armor on that Crypt Fiend. Frost Armor plus 3 armor plus the additional slow on all those melee attacks makes a Blade Master very unhappy, but plus 26 damage. Wow. What is that? 4 plus 6 items plus the Circlet of Nobility. That is plus 2, but that is no potions of invulnerability or potions of healing. He's going to rely on the Shadow Hunter, who is now at level 3, as the Blade Master getting only a 136 hit point critical strike down. Alright, perhaps needs to get even higher. He does have the Orb of Corruption on him, minus 2.76. A net effect of about 5 armor there, as the Shadow Hunter now making its way off. Perhaps is going to try and clear out. No, not going to clear out there. May try and clear out here. Most of the major creep camps have been cleared out. The Lich now sitting at level 1, as the Troll Shadow Priest going to get taken down very quickly. There it goes. Alright, Lich just distributing that love, able to take down anything with heavy armor, or anything that relies on armor pretty quickly there, as we're looking at the Blade Master still with plus 24 damage. And for some reason, even though that is very high, we haven't been seeing the high critical strikes that you normally see with a 50 minimum damage Blade Master. There's the 213 that I was talking about, 195. Alright, so 213 is about the right amount of damage, and then once it gets into the quadruple damage range, that is truly going to be a sight to behold, as the Lich now gets to level 2. Double Mantles of Intelligence on that Lich and an Orb of Corruption makes that Lich, his auto attack much more deadly, and the fact that he has 450 mana makes it much more difficult for Frost Armor to run out. Now, On both sides getting into position. The Blade Master has sold the Circlet of Nobility, or no, given it to the Shadow Hunter. He needs to get Orb of Lightning on the Blade Master. Very important in order to take down those destroyers, as the destroyers will end up getting purged. But what is this? We have the Pit Lord as the third hero for Undead. Not your typical silence, so maybe Howl of Terror in order to try and minimize the amount of damage that the Blade Master is going to do. 190 hit point, 192 hit point critical strike, the Spirit Link, Death Coil, Frost Nova, the entire array of units, as the Blade Master may be able to finish this off. Oh, there's a Windwalk strike now. Maybe forced to Windwalk again. Is he going to be able to do so? Oh, going after the Obsidian statue. The Blade Master's in a little bit of trouble, though. He does not have that much mana, and he's not going to be able to afford all that much. Obsidian statues are now getting ready to heal back those burrowed Crypt Fiends. Blade Master needs to regroup with his army, as we are going into some Troll Berserkers as well. Kodo Beast is now out on the field, so the Kodo Beast is going to add additional damage to that Blade Master, 34 damage. And where is this all going to end up? Pit Lord now running in. Oh, Troll Berserker getting trained up at just the wrong time, quickly taken out. And that is a bit of a mistake by ZDR, not realizing that his opponent is just right outside his base. With the Voodoo Lounge now gone, the Blade Master is going to have a very, very hard time trying to get any heals. It looks like one destroyer looks like, oh no, not going to get taken down. Beautiful Death Coil there. Troll Berserker, there's that Howl of Terror to just minimize all the damage across the board. I believe that's 10%. As the Blade Master now trying to fight back here. And let's take a look at this. All right, Raider, Kodo Beast now taken down. Death Knight just tearing through this army, and this fight is going in a surprising direction, I feel. WFZ is going to end up losing another Obsidian statue there. But the heroes are all up. The Lich is not really... The Lich is doing a great job just staying alive right now. And the Blade Master is going after unit after unit after unit. The Destroyers are still in the air. The Raiders need to get taken down. There's another Howl of Terror. -7 damage. That is like a 20%... I believe that's 25% damage reduction. The Blade Master all of a sudden only having +15. And this might be a new strategy to try and deal with a very, very heavily loaded Blade Master. All right, Destroyer down to 102 hit points. They're going to be forced to back off again. Another Kodo Beast. Oh, gets healed up at just the right time, but still not going to be enough, as the Crypt Fiends are now out again. All right, one low hit point Crypt Fiend will be left to the slaughter there, as we're now down to 38/60 compared to 46/60. WFZ definitely coming out ahead in this fight, as the Blade Master hopes to perhaps take down a unit or two. Destroyer now up in the air. Death Knight does have enough for a Death Coil. There is a Burrow onto the Crypt Fiend, saving another unit. Frost unit. Oh, Frost Nova Death Coil onto the Blade Master. And that might be it. ZDR, all of that advantage that he built up throughout most of the game, lost in an instant, with a very overzealous Blade Master trying to take down units by himself. Speed Swirl finally being used. The Pit Lord on the move, moving relatively quickly. All right, there was some Devour magic again. Destroyers doing what it does best, devouring magic and being able to heal off of it and deal additional damage. That Pit Lord down to 90 mana. I don't even know how much Howl of Terror costs in terms of mana. Is it 9? Is it 75? It's been so long since I've actually used a Pit Lord in a straight up game. All right, let's take a look at this. We are still chasing the Death Knight, constantly getting ensnared, as you need to ensnare the one hero that is making everyone faster. Meanwhile, the Lich is still trying to chase after more units, and they are just running straight into their opponent's base. Reinforcements are coming in aplenty as the Death Coil comes in, and are we going to see that Raider get taken down? All right, the Pit Lord looks like it's not... No, oh, come on, come on. Oh, it looks like that Raider is just going to run off into the corner, and the Pit Lord is going to get that final shot off there in just a second. Oh, Pit Lord, oh, running around the Goblin Laboratory as the unit somehow made it away. Lich now on its way back out. You can see, oh, there goes the one more attack. There it goes. Down it goes. Pit Lord now sitting at level 2. Lich sitting at level 3. Death Knight sitting at level 4. As we are waiting on a Blade Master who is still licking his wounds. Destroyers now getting the right number of units. That Howl of Terror was a brilliant call in order to try and shut down those grunts and that Blade Master. The sheer damage reduction was absolutely huge. I'm not even quite sure my eyes knew what they were looking at most of the time. Anyways, let's go ahead and take a look at this. Shadow Hunter now getting up more mana. We are getting some Troll Berserkers. The Troll Berserkers, however, are not upgraded, so that is going to make them a little bit, excuse me, a little bit more fragile, as they're not going to be able to focus down the destroyers nearly as fast. In addition, we do have some Troll Bat Riders adding into the game here. If they can perhaps land 2 or 3 good splash damage attacks onto the destroyer, that might be enough. Blade Master currently hiding. Is he going to be able to do anything here? That is the big question, as we now see the Bestiary getting focused down. All right, Bat Rider now down. Are we going to have the ends justify the means? That is the question, as we are looking at a couple of ensnares now go down. Blade Master forcing an engagement with those ensnares, as we see one end justify the means. Destroyers are still doing plenty of damage, devouring the magic, eating up all of that Spirit Link. The Destroyers are still pretty much full on life and still doing a great job. Blade Master trying to take down one Crypt Fiend. It looks like it will get taken down. Blade Master now being forced to try and heal back up, as he's going to get focused down as well. Even while wind walking, he was dusted. Now, meanwhile, Gargoyles, Destroyers continuing to focus down. There goes another Kodo Beast, as the Pit Lord is just really changing things up in this matchup. All right, Cleave now coming in as well, so that Pit Lord able to just run in there and deal a lot of damage with his basic attack with that Cleave, as there were a lot of units around him there. All right, Pit Lord attempting to take down the Bestiary here. It looks like a Kodo Beast will, just does barely make it, as he is now making his way back out. Kodo Beast does give that all-important damage bonus boost, which is really, really critical right now, since the Howl of Terror has taken such a large chunk of damage away from the remaining units. Destroyers, piercing damage, and hero damage is all that's being used to take down the barracks and ZDR's base. But because I'm not quite sure why he isn't, well, there is a couple of units inside there. Let's go ahead and try and, well, nope, there goes another Troll Berserker, as the Blade Master does get it. Oh, Ensnare misses the Pit Lord, now going after the Crypt Fiend instead, as the Raiders now trying to back off. Howl of Terror, a sudden damage reduction across multiple units, and now the Spear Walkers are just trying to chase off to the north again. Another Kodo Beast getting taken down. There goes that damage bonus, as all the units are still trying to fight back. 36 supply compared to 56, as WFZ is absolutely controlling the pace of the game with those Destroyers. Death Knight, Lich, Crypt Fiend, all of those now running back. Blade Master now heading back over. Is he going to be able to perhaps take down 1 or 2 big units? While this fight goes down, Blade Master now in a little bit of trouble. Is he going to be able to get away? It looks like he should be able to. No, he runs back over, not quite sure why. And now going to be running back to his base there, down to 360 some odd hit points. Obsidian Statue now rejoined back up. Death Knight with plenty of mana. Lich with enough mana for another Frost Nova or Frost Armor, whatever the need may be. Blade Master needs to heal back up and heal up quickly, picking up most likely a Potion of Lesser Invulnerability here for the upcoming fight, which may be the last fight. WFZ, if he can continue this push and make his opponent pay, will come out as the victor here. WFZ, Blade Master, yeah, does pick up Potion of Lesser Invulnerability, and now it's going to all come down to this. Is he going to be able to get enough damage, constantly losing units as they're being trained, and as they're just single filing out of those barracks has been his greatest nightmare. ZDR now coming in with a 288 hit point critical strike. He needs about 17 more of those in order to get back into this game. As another, wow, the Howl of Terror from a 288 critical strike down to a 160. That is just goes to show you how strong that Howl of Terror is, level 2. And that was a very heavy investment into that strategy. All right, Blade Master now trying to finish off some more units. Blade Master looking like he's going to take down a Crypt Fiend. There he goes. But Orc cannot stand on an army of Blade Masters and Shadow Hunters alone. He needs an army behind him, otherwise he's just going to get focused down, and that's exactly what we're seeing here. We are going to be looking at a GG, as the Blade Master, unable to finish off a final Crypt Fiend there, gets another healing wave, and the Shadow Hunter is doing his best to constantly support that Blade Master. Blade Master now continuing the fight against the Destroyers. It's just not going to work, not enough anti-air, and I believe that is going to be the game. With the Blade Master falling, there is the GG. Thanks for watching, thanks for listening. Hope you guys enjoyed that rather close game here on Terrorist Stand.